For those of you that don't know my face, I'm Mr. Bounds. I'm one of the instructors for the Auto Shop program. Mr. Wolf is right down here with a group of individuals that are here to do a very special presentation for you guys today. I want you guys to know that out of every school in the entire country, Buena High School is the only one that has ever had the honor of bringing these motorcycles here for you guys to witness. Okay? The opportunity for this is huge. And we have Mr. Wolf and also the gentleman that's down here. I'll be introducing to you in just a moment, Mr. Jay Allen, to thank for this. So, before we get started, I also want to introduce you guys to a group of very special guests we have today. We have some folks that are here, retired military folks. We've got some people right here in the center. I want you guys to give them a big round of applause. And some of our guest speakers that are here today from the Air Force, Mr. Martin McKinley. The United States Marine Corps, Mr. Jim Cohen. All right, for those representing the U.S. military, or U.S. Army, we've got Fred Thompson and Charles Hancock. And from the U.S. Coast Guard, Anthony Matthews. Without further ado, I would like to present you guys with our main speaker today, Mr. Jay Allen. If you could, please come up. And as Jay is making his way to the stage, our very own principal, Mr. Farmer, has asked to get a few minutes to speak. Mr. Farmer, if you would come up, please.
All right, thank you. Thank you to everyone who's put this on. Mr. Wolf, Mr. Bounce, an excellent job getting this all together. I'm not going to take a couple minutes, just a few seconds, because you guys didn't come to hear me. There's a lot of neat things going on here, and I want to turn this back over to them. But before I do, Jay Allen has brought these bikes here. Every year he brings them. They're going all across the country. He'll tell you more about that, but I appreciate what he's done for the students and the staff here at Buena High School. And I'd like to present him with a Buena High School Colts Coin of Excellence.
I'm honored. Thank you so much, sir. Well, my folks would be proud of me. Okay, what's going to happen next? I got to tell you guys, all over the country, I do a thing called the Circle of Honor. And I mean, sometimes this is in front of 60, 70, 80,000 people. And they don't even know what's about to happen. But when we finish up with TAPS, I tell you, I look and I see tears all over the place. And what's about to happen makes you so proud to be an American. And I'm honored. We're going to have, right now, we're going to have the JROTC Color Guard. And then we're going to have Chris Harper, an Eagle Scout, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And then the national anthem is going to be from Cadet Shears, and TAPS is going to be Conrad Whitney, the Buena Band. And let's get it started. You guys are going to be blown away by this.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Folks, let's give them a hand. Come on, give them a hand. Is that powerful or what? I don't think you think that powerful or what.
All right, guys, now we're going to have our special guest come up and give us a presentation. Mr. Martin McKinley, Air Force. Jim Cohen, Marine. Mr. Fred Thompson and Charles Hancock, Army. And Coast Guard, Anthony Matthews.
All right, well, let's start right here with the Army.
Well, I was asked to appear today and to say a few words about the Army and why I'm proud of the Army, I respect the Army, and in fact, I love the Army. We're now in the year 2016. It was 71 years ago when I entered the Army. The war was winding down. Our country had lost many valiant soldiers, male and female. I had tried to get into the various services and no one would have me. I even tried to get into the Merchant Marines and they said, no, you can't meet the medical standards. I was blind in one eye, still am. But toward the end of the war, they were scraping the bottom of the barrel and they took me. I was a high school dropout. I had even been in jail a couple of times, but they took me. And once they took me, I wouldn't let them let me go. I stayed for 21 years. During the time I was in the service, I became a man. I started out as a kid, much like many of you, without any skills. And in my case, not a heck of a lot of ambition. But the Army changed me. They taught me many things. In the Army, they taught me German. They taught me French. And they taught me Turkish. All of which, of course, aren't very important here in Sierra Vista. But I used those skills to serve in the Army. And I was very happy to do so. We talk about self-esteem today. I had no lack of self-esteem after the Army helped me find myself. I mentioned that I had been in jail a couple of times as a youngster. That served me well when later on in life I became a judge and was on the other side of the bench. After the war ended, another war came along in Korea. I didn't go to Korea. Another war came along, Vietnam. They didn't send me to Vietnam. By the time Vietnam was in progress, I was a nuclear power plant operator for the Army. And we didn't have any nuclear power plants over there. But in 1965, I hung it up, I retired, went up to Montana, and used the GI Bill to attend the University of Montana to get a BA, subsequently the University of Washington to get an MA and a PhD. It was only later, after I retired from teaching at the universities, that I went to law school and got a law degree. I owe almost everything I did along the lines of education to the Army. The Army offered these things to me, they will offer these kinds of things to you, provided when you go in, you apply yourself and you look for the opportunities and you take the opportunities and you serve to the best of your ability. Thank you for hearing my few words today.
It's a good talk to you guys. Fantastic.
Back to follow. I was a Marine. I did 6 years, 3 active duty and 3 reserve, and I was a Vietnam veteran and a Vietnam veteran. But let's not talk about that so much. Let's talk about the Marine Corps. There's a poem that I came across recently. It says, "Some think they'd like to be a Marine, but they don't try. Some want to be a Marine, but for other reasons they can't be. Some try to be a Marine, but they don't succeed. And those few who do become Marines will always be Marines, as long as they live. First, they have to earn that title, United States Marine, in boot camp. And then there's no such thing as an ex-Marine or a former Marine. As long as you live, you'll be a Marine." Some of you may wonder why we capitalize the word Marine or Marines. Because after World War II, Congress passed a law that required Marine to be capitalized because of the fighting that they did against the Japanese in such places as Guadalcanal, Tarawa, Iwo Jima. And as a gesture of honor, that's why you always see the word Marine capitalized. Where did we all get started from? Well, it goes back to 1775 at Tun Tavern in Philadelphia, where the papers were officially signed to make the Marine Corps a distinct branch of the Navy. And so we had our own uniforms, we had our own terminology, our own rank system. That all started back in 1775. You probably heard the term leathernecks. That's because their uniform had a leather collar around the neck to protect them when they boarded a ship, a pirate ship or an enemy ship. And when they were fighting with their swords, that was to protect them from getting slashed in the neck. So we call ourselves leathernecks. And we also call ourselves devil dogs. And that term came about because of, in World War I, the battle for Belleau Wood. When Gunnery Sergeant Dan Daly stood up and said, "Come on, you sons of bitches, do you want to live forever?" And they attacked that Belleau Wood, drove the Germans out. The Germans said, "Those Marines, they're like Teufelhunden," which is devil dogs. Yes, we are still part of the Navy, the adult part. We use their terminology. Like we don't go up the stairs, we go up a ladder. And we don't go in the kitchen, we go in the galley. And if you drop something on the floor, you don't drop it on the floor, you drop it on the deck. And so on and so on. That's terminology that we, all Marines, use. And we, honestly, we aren't too fond of the Navy. When they call us jarheads, we call them squids and swabbies and that sort of thing. But I'll tell you one group of sailors that we are very fond of, and that's the FMF corpsmen who served with us and endured all the hardships that we endured. So if we have a soft spot in our heart for any of the Navy, it's the corpsmen that served with us. In fact, I'm a member of the Marine Corps League here, and we actively recruit FMF corpsmen to join us. You've probably heard the term semper fidelis. It's Latin for always faithful. And it's a bond of mutual respect that we, all Marines, men and women, we all share. And I'll give you a little example of how that occurs. Recently I was taking some branches from my, dead branches from my mesquite trees on my property. I was taking them out to the dump out there, and I pulled in my pickup truck. And then I hear some commotion back there. My tailgate drops down, and I look back, and there are two men back there, about in their 50s, are pulling the branches out of my back of my pickup truck. So I said, gee, I didn't know that they had personnel hired to do this out here. I go back. Turns out these two were Marines. They both had sons who were Marines. One of them had been wounded in Iraq. And when they saw my license plate that had Purple Heart license plate and it had the Marine Corps sticker in the rear window, they just came over and started helping out. So that's the bond that I'm talking about that we share. Wherever I go, if another Marine sees me and I recognize him or he recognizes me, we shake hands and we say Semper Fi. If it's a younger Marine, he'll say Hoorah. But the bond is still the same. I've always been impressed with the younger soldiers and airmen and Marines that I run into and sailors, because they're a pretty sharp group, pretty intelligent, motivated. I'm very impressed with them. I'm thinking back to the tank I was on in Vietnam, where I was the tank commander and I had 3 other crewmen. All 3 were high school dropouts. My loader had been given a choice, either you go in the Marine Corps or you go to jail. He chose the Marine Corps. I guess the judge thought 90 days in boot camp was enough punishment for what he did. And their reading material was comic books. They passed the Superman and Batman comic books around. But when we got in a fight, they were always there. I owe my life to 2 of them who risked theirs to save mine. So I'd say that all of our military services are in good hands today. The young soldiers and Marines and airmen that I run into, I'm just impressed with them. They're sharp, they're dedicated, and I'm proud to know them. And I think any of you that are looking for a future, join the military. You'll be glad you did.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Cohen. Any other vehicles?
All right, folks, my story is maybe just a little bit different. I joined the Air Force right out of high school. Graduated on the 10th. On the 15th, I was down at basic training. I got there because my brother was in the Air Force too, but he spent more time in the brig than he did out doing his job. I figured I'd go in and make my family name a little bit better. Well, I was able to earn a college degree while I was in the Air Force. I started testing the B-52 bomber, or at least the new equipment on board it. I ended my career by testing the B-1 bomber, and I was able to travel all over the world. And a lot of that travel was, by airplane. Needless to say, that's what we do. We, even in Vietnam, my people flew the O-2A. And we flew in operation supporting the Army, the Marines, all the ground forces down there. At night, we'd provide flares. During the day, we were forward air controllers. We let them know where the bad guy was so that they could be a little bit safer. I also had the privilege to start working with the Boy Scouts of America when I was in the Air Force. And I'd like to say that continued throughout my 21 years in the Air Force, and then continues on now. When I was in Vietnam, everybody thinks that we go out and fight war. Well, yeah, we don't go out and always fight and kill people. In Vietnam, when it came to camping out, the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts would all go camping at the same time. A matter of fact, the schools in South Vietnam would actually close down so that the Boys and Girl Scouts could go camping. We had a World Jamboree in Vietnam. When I got there, I was told I would never wear my military uniform off base. Within 3 days, I was downtown in my Boy Scout uniform, because I was one of the only ones that bothered to bring their Boy Scout uniform with them. And during that International World Jamboree, as they call it today, they always like to pass out patches, and well, I didn't have any patches to pass out except for the ones that were on my uniform. And I had one of the Girl Scouts walk up, and she had a little bit of a machete, you know. She walked up and said, "Can I have one?" And I said, "Yeah, go right ahead." You don't argue with a lady with a knife in her hand. Well, I enjoyed my time in the Air Force. In Guam, I also was a square dance caller. Got to be on the national TV with the governor of Guam, and we would be there to help any other group, meaning mainly Guam was the Hawaii for the Japanese. They'd come over, and we, the military, and some of the civilians from Guam would perform square dances right there for them. And within about 15 minutes of getting them up, we could have them square dancing. So, airplanes and what we did, well, that was it. We loved it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Martin McKinley, Air Force. 21 Matthews right there. Let's go. Is that close to mail time?
Close. Good morning. How about that color guard, man? Was that awesome or what? I really do feel like this is an honor today, and I'd like to thank Mr. Wolf and Jay Allen. I really do believe what Jay does across country for the vets, showing these bikes, letting people tell their stories, and hopefully impress people, younger people. I joined the Coast Guard in 1975. I retired in 1997, 22 and a half years. And I count that half year because 6 months is a long time in the military. When I was a young guy, I was welding at the shipyard, Ingalls Shipyard in Pascagoula, Mississippi. At the time, we were building the DD-class Bruins destroyers. A really cool ship, man. I think they've been mothballed now, but it was a good job. I enjoyed welding. But I'd look around at the old guys there, and I'd go, man, I don't think I want to end up here when I'm their age, you know. I really didn't know what to do because I screwed up. I quit school when I was a young guy. I quit in the 10th grade. I did go back to school at night to get my GED. If I had it all to do over again when I quit school, heck no. No. It really does create a hardship on your life without that education. But anyway, so I decided that I was going to do something else. I didn't know what else to do. So I went and visited all of the recruiters' offices. Every one of these guys you see up here. And I ended up going in the Coast Guard. Why, I don't really know. Just something about the Coast Guard piqued my interest. Well, in the Coast Guard, I was a machinery technician, and in the Coast Guard, you have a lot of collateral duties because the Coast Guard is much smaller than the most of the other services. So not only do you do what you're trained to do, but you take on other categories, other jobs. So I was stationed from Cordova, Alaska, down the West Coast in California, Coos Bay, Oregon. Then I went, spent most of my time on the Gulf Coast, from New Orleans down to Key West, Florida, and up the East Coast as far as Yorktown, Virginia. And those collateral duties that the Coast Guard takes on could be anything that supports fisheries, drug interdiction, rescue, aids to navigation, and now that the Coast Guard is under Homeland Defense, they probably have way more jobs and opportunities than they even had when I was there. The education that I got in the Coast Guard, I have a folder about this thick of all the certificates and schools that I graduated from. And throughout my whole career, I was going to school and coming back and teaching the guys on my unit how to do things. But in the end, after I retired, about 6 months later, I looked back and I wondered why the heck I did it. I really loved the Coast Guard. I loved what I was doing, but I had just got to a point where I needed to change. So, if any of you guys are out there later on after you graduate from school and you find yourself floundering, you don't really know what to do, give it a shot, man. Any one of these departments will take you in, they'll train you, they'll educate you, they'll raise you, they'll grow you up. Because if you think you're grown up when you get out of high school, you're not. And you'll find that if you don't like it, in 4 years you get out and you take that and do something with it, go back to school or whatever. But I think that our military in the United States is such an opportunity for people like me with my background that don't really have the family backing or money to get going in the beginning. The military will do it for you. Now, I'm not here to recruit you because, like I said, man, I counted that 6 months because every day in the Coast Guard meant something. Every day in the Coast Guard to me, I was busy. I was doing something. I was waiting for that phone call. You might have to go out and rescue somebody at sea. It was just a great opportunity. Once again, I'd like to thank Mr. Wolf and Jay Allen because this has just been awesome for me. Thank you very much.
Something I'd like to say, Tony and Alex and I, we race out at Bonneville Salt Flats, and I've been trying to hit 200 miles an hour for years, and we're not giving up till we do it. But to go out there and Tony, when you got someone like Tony, and again, I wasn't in the service, and I've owned the world's largest biker bar for 23 years, and let me tell you, I have hired some cartoon characters, and I have had my tires fall off my semi. I have had more things go wrong because a lot of those people were like me. They weren't squared away at a young age. And there's people out there that don't have what they need to be doing certain things. And so to go to Bonneville, and especially, and our buddy Jeff Lang, Vietnam veteran, helicopter guy, he's the one who built my motor. We're sitting on 24 world land speed records. But for me, I'm the monkey on the bike. I'm the rider. And to have these guys put their hands on that bike, I feel so safe and secure going up on that line because I've been dealing with characters like me, and when you get somebody that's been in the armed forces, they are squared away. I mean, it's like everything. You need to educate yourself about everything you're interested in. And I just feel so secure when I'm watching him go down the list before I get on that bike. And again, that was my regret. I mean, I've had a great life, but I just know I could have accelerated everything had I done something earlier, like join the armed forces. And again, this isn't a recruitment thing. This is about paying tribute to our veterans. But it's something I'd like to share with you because I'm a guy that didn't, and it took me a long time to grow up. That's all I got to tell you. Mark, with the papers here, did you get a picture of all these veterans on their bikes for you? Oh, awesome. Good, good. Well, would you give these gentlemen a hand, please? Come on. Fantastic. World War II. Give that man a hand. Vietnam. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we want you kids to come up on stage. We want you to sit on your favorite bike. Don't lift them off the kickstand, but we want to get photographs of you on your favorite bike. And also I want to talk to you guys about what you like. And are there any questions out there about any of these bikes or what's going on? Any questions at all? Sir? Those are not made by Harley. Harleys are a bike that is manufactured. These are all custom-built motorcycles, except for the Indian. That was built for World War II. That's a 1941, 841 shaft drive. But no, these are all custom handmade bikes, but the power plants are Harley power plants. And they're amazing. They really are. God bless America. God bless Harley Davidson. Anyone else? Yes. No, that's the beauty of these bikes. For those of you who don't know, the Army bike's mine, and Rolling Thunder reached out to me to get bikes built for all the branches, and I went out to some of the most famous people in the industry. You know, not one of them charged a cent to fabricate these bikes. Everybody is all about giving back. And no, they're not in a museum, and if I don't take them out and do what I'm doing with them, that's probably where they would end up. But the whole focus of these are like, there's so many different ways to say thank you to our veterans and our troops. And I got to tell you, this is a magical way to do it. This is my last run today. Day before yesterday, I was in Phoenix. I was in Fresno before that, Sacramento before that. I was at the LA Veterans Hospital before that. And that's the power of these. So I take these bikes to our veterans and our troops. And our young people, our youth too. All right. Well, come on, kids. Come on up here and swing your leg over these bikes. Let's go.